Star Trek Online recently announced that they are introducing the Captain Alteration token, which is a token that will let you change the species and or gender of your player character. And as of yesterday, we finally know how that's going to work because they put out a blog, so let's take a look. The first thing to go over is that we know how this token is going to be released. Well, first off, we know when it's going to be released. That's going to be May 28th, along with the Star Trek Online Unparalleled update. That's going to be going on PC May 28th. For console, that is going to be going live later in June. We don't know the exact date in June yet, but I imagine it's going to be, sometime late June. So, give it a little time. The Captain Alteration token is going to be sold on the C-Store, and it is going to cost 750 Zen for a single token, or 1500 Zen for a pack of 3, which honestly is better than I expected. I had anticipated that they were going to sell like a single token for somewhere close to 1500, and then do like a 3-pack for even more than that, but yeah, that's not a bad price in my opinion. Additionally, the tokens aren't bound, so you will be able to trade them to other players or sell them on the exchange, so that is definitely going to be helpful for any free-to-play players out there. And to cap it off, there is going to be an introductory sale, which is common with Star Trek Online. It's going to be a 20% off sale that starts on the 28th when it starts, and will last until June 11th. So that'll last 2 weeks, and I imagine the console will get the same thing, so whenever it releases onto console, there will be a 2-week sale of these for 20% off. The rest of the blog goes over how the token will work and what sort of restrictions you'll be facing depending on what sort of character you're on. Like for instance, to use the token on the character that you want, that character will have to have completed the game's tutorial, and if it's a Romulan or a Dominion character, it will have to have chosen a primary faction. I'm betting that first one's not going to be a big deal, because I imagine that most people are going to be using this on characters that they've had for a long while, and not characters that they've just freshly made. You'll now see a new option in the tailor that reads Change Species. Once you have a token, click on that to start the process. The token will not be consumed until after you've finalized and confirmed your selections. So if you change your mind and back out, you will still have your token. That is really nice. This means you don't have to fully commit to changing your character until you are absolutely certain. So even if you hit that Change Species button, you're not going to be wasting your token until you have actually hit confirm on it. So you'll be able to, go through the various options, have some time to think about it, and even then you'll still be able to back out of it without any consequences. The species list available to change to will be the same list that your faction has access to at the character creation, including any species you may have unlocked with the Zen Store purchases or in other ways. Because there are several various species that can only be unlocked certain ways, like there's the Liberated Borg and Talaxians, which are exclusive to the Lifetime subscription. There's the Cardassians, the Caitians, the Joined Trill, the Federation-aligned Klingons. Those are all C-Store purchases. Even the Remans, those are technically only unlocked as playable races if you have the Romulan reputation completely leveled up on one of your characters. You cannot use this token to make a Vulcan Dominion captain, for example. This also applies to Discovery captains and TOS captains. You'll only be able to switch to options available at character creation for your faction. So we kind of knew this part already, that what species that you'll be able to change into will be limited to what species are available to your faction when you create a character. For those last 2 faction choices, so that's the Discovery and TOS captains, we may be able to open it up to the full 2409 Federation options in the future. Stay tuned. That's kind of interesting right there, because something I have been asking for a long time is for aliens to be finally added to the TOS captains' choices, because I mean I know they've had their reasons, and I don't agree with those reasons, so I'm very vocal about that still. And people have been asking for more discovery options for ages now, because right now they can only play as human, Vulcan, and alien. So yeah, if they can open those up, even if it is through this token, I'm all for it. When you apply the token and change your character, the system will do its absolute best to carry over all of your saved costumes. However, there are certain costumes that are not available to all characters, and there may be errors. If the system cannot find a good way to copy a costume, it will return it to the default outfit. Note, this is a permanent process, and there is no way to undo it. If you want to switch back to your previous species/gender, you have to spend another token, and the costume matching process will proceed as if you have been that new species/gender the whole time. So yeah, it makes sense that there would be some hiccups with certain species, particularly with costume pieces, because there are still plenty of species in Star Trek Online that have unique costume pieces that aren't available to other playable species. The Orions, the Gorn, the Nausicaans, they all have costume pieces that are unique to those species and aren't available on any other species in the KDF. And those are just the first 3 that came to mind. I'm sure there are more species that also have unique costume pieces. Actually, I think the Cardassians do too. Oh, and a lot of the event costume pieces, mainly the ones from the summer and winter event, a lot of those are gender specific too, so be mindful of that when changing your character's gender, because you'll probably have to rebuy a lot of those costume pieces. Fortunately, we're not far from the summer event. And that note there at the end, that's really important, because that confirms that this is a permanent process. So once you have hit confirmed and have used your token to change your character's species and or gender, that's it. There's no way to undo that process to make it so it was exactly like your character was before. So once you do it, it's done. You'll be able to use another token if you want to change your species or gender again after you've already done it, and you'll even be able to choose the species or gender that you were using previously, but it won't be like magically resetting it to how it was previously. You'll basically just be hitting the reset button again. Changing your species will change your traits. If you chose an alien for the extra trait slot, for example, and switch to a Vulcan, you will become a standard Vulcan with the standard Vulcan traits. I don't know why anyone would want to do that in that order. If anything, you'd want to change your Vulcan character to an alien in order to gain access to that extra trait slot. But it does bring up an important point that every playable species has its own innate personal traits, and by changing the species, you are going to be changing those traits. So, for example, if your character starts out as a Saurian and you are wanting to change them to a Talaxian, you will lose access to the Saurian's ground trait, which gives all of these stat buffs. But you will gain access to the Talaxian buffs once you change it to a Talaxian. Or if you change to an alien, you will lose that innate trait that they gain and instead get the alien innate personal trait, which is just a blank personal trait for ground and space, which is why aliens are the best one. You should be switching to an alien, trust me. Obviously, what you pick is up to you, but aliens are the meta choice because they get that extra personal trait slot in both ground and space. Which is actually really nice because a lot of these playable species, most of their innate traits are ground only, which is really weird to me. And the last note is that this token will not work on your bridge officers, only on your player captains. That's really not that big of a surprise. I imagine that getting this to work on bridge officers would be an entirely different kind of technical hurdle than it was to get it to work on captains. And plus, it's really not all that necessary because it's not that difficult to just replace a bridge officer. So it doesn't need to work on buffs. So, I mean, I'm sure people will complain about that because people are always going to complain about something stupid, but yeah, it's unnecessary. So yeah, that is how the Captain Alteration token is going to be sold in Star Trek Online and how it's going to work. Honestly, I like the execution here, because, I mean, one, yeah, it's a C-Store purchase, but, I mean, we all saw that coming. It's a free-to-play game. Everything is going to cost something, but, I mean, they didn't charge much for it. I mean, like, you know, $7.50, not that bad for this kind of thing, or you can get a pack of 3, and even then, they are tradable between players and sellable on the exchange, so you could potentially get this one without spending any money. The way the token works seems pretty straightforward and pretty easy to use, so, you know, always a plus there. And, you know, I'm still really interested about that one note about adding the other 2409 playable species to the Discovery and TOS captains, so, yeah, really hope we hear more about that in the near future. So yeah, let me know what you think of this down below in the comments. I know not everyone is going to be engaging with this token just because I know there are plenty of people who are already really happy with their characters and don't see the need to change it in this way, but there are plenty of people who have been waiting for something like this because, I mean, keep in mind how old Star Trek Online is. I mean, people change over time. Their play styles change, they change themselves as people, and, you know, people grow. That's how people work. And it's nice to see that you now have an option to adjust your character to reflect who you are now, whether it be through your playstyle or just who you are as a person. So you'll be able to change your character to kind of reflect that for you in the present rather than who you were back when you made the character. Because with all the single character unlock crap in this game, re-rolling a new character can be brutal. So yeah, this will be a welcome change for a lot of people, I think. So yeah, let me know what you think down below in the comments, and while you're down there, be sure to like and subscribe and hit that bell for notifications. If you'd like to further support the channel, you can do all that stuff I usually talk about doing at the end of the video, but yeah, either way, thank you so much for watching. My name's Stu, and I will see you guys next time.